Good morning, and I apologize for missing last week. It was due to technical difficulties. It took about 40 minutes to upgrade or upload changes to my computer. Apologies. Anyway, welcome back to the conversation with Kelly Diamond. You can usually catch me here every Thursday at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, or catch my written word every Monday at globalwealthprotection.com. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about last week, and I intend to talk about it today. There was a shooting of a homeless man in Los Angeles by LA's finest, LAPD, on Skid Row. And apparently, and what drove me absolutely nuts was that Michelle Malkin, among other, conservatives, ruled out with, well, it turns out this guy that was killed, this homeless man, was operating under a false identity, had served a sentence for robbery, was wanted in France for some other stuff, and was an illegal immigrant and might have had drug use history. Okay. And I'm going to say the same thing about this man as I'm going to say about Michael Brown and anyone else who had a narrative roll out after the fact. At the end of the day, the cops that killed these two men did not know that about them when they killed them. And it's important to know what they knew at the time of the killing, because that decides what the nature of the killing is. Let me give you an example of what knowing something entails about the death of someone. Okay. If I'm in a domestic dispute with my husband, okay, we're arguing and things get really heated, I see him raise his arm as if to strike me. I think he's going to, so I push him away, right? Acting in self-defense. Now, I'm not thinking that there's nothing behind him but a flight of stairs. He goes toppling down the flight of stairs, breaks his neck, and dies. Now, obviously, spouse is the first to get the questioning and the accusations. The police investigate. They have me in the interrogation room and they say, "Did you kill your husband on purpose?" I say, "Absolutely not. Absolutely not." That was the furthest thing from my mind. I was upset. I was frustrated, but we were having an argument about what every married couple argues about. You're not home enough. You work too much. You're missing the kids' recitals, and we never have enough money. And if that serves as a motive for killing someone, then everyone's in danger of death, right? Being murdered by their spouse. And so the cop said, "Really? You were arguing about him not being around enough and not having enough money. You sure you weren't arguing about the fact that he had a gambling problem and several mistresses?" What the hell are you talking about? So you didn't know about the mistresses or the gambling problem? No. Why would I know about that? That's not what was going on. Oh, really? Well, that's exactly what was going on. It didn't take us long to find that out, and you're telling me you have no idea this was going on? Absolutely not. I just thought he was working overtime and we didn't have any freaking money. I didn't know where the money was going. He was keeping the books, and every time I went grocery shopping, my card was rejected and the checks were bouncing. I'm asking him what's going on. We have the repeated fight about what's going on. I never get a straight answer, but certainly I never thought that he was having an affair or multiple affairs or that he had a gambling problem. Oh, and I assume you also didn't know you had a life insurance policy. Life insurance? Why would we have life insurance? We have no fucking money. So here I am, totally shocked at all these revelations about my ex-husband having a life insurance policy, a gambling problem, and a harem of mistresses. Okay, Now, me not knowing this eliminates a huge chunk of motive. Right? By taking all of that out of the picture, it becomes a lot more plausible that I really was just trying to defend myself, and I didn't realize that he'd lose his footing and fall down a flight of stairs. Right? Now, if I did know this stuff, it could easily be spun into a crime of passion. That I confronted him about these things at the top of the stairs and then deliberately pushed him down the stairs. I mean, the narrative shifts considerably based on what I know at the time that he was killed. Right? Huge shift in the case. Now, that's not to say that if I did know that my claim would be any less viable, but it certainly does muddy up the waters. Right? Now then, the same is true with Pop. Did you know at the time that you killed him that he was all these horrible things? No. Well, that kind of changes things, right? It means that what you're trying to do now is justify killing the man. But even in the case of trying to justify it, only a couple of questions could bring you to the place where you would say, no, you're not justified in killing him, even if you knew. Here, let's go down the list together, shall we? He was an illegal immigrant. He was here illegally, he was undocumented. He did not have his magical membership papers to be here in the United States. Okay. Is that a capital crime? Is that even a violent crime unto itself? No. Under certain definitions, certain Supreme Court rulings, you actually have to have a victim in order for there to be a crime. It's called corpus delicti, right? I don't know if I'm saying it right. I'm not very good with the Latin, but I believe that's what it is that you have to have a victim in order to have a crime. If you have no victim, you have no crime, which of course is what every libertarian argues, right? No victim, no crime, which is a very salient and pithy point. Okay, so he's here illegally. Is that a capital crime? No. Okay, so you can't kill him for that. No. Okay. He was a convicted robber. Now, is robbery a capital crime? No. But he was a convicted one, which means he already served a sentence for it. So, ostensibly, he's square with the house. I think he had a probation officer and he missed a couple of appointments. But that unto itself is still not a capital crime. So I'm still looking for that justification. That justification that says it's okay to kill this man. Okay? So we've established that being here without your papers in the United States of America is not a capital crime, albeit it is a violation of the law. Having served a sentence for a previous crime is not a crime. In fact, it means you're back to innocent, right? You get the same presumption of innocence as everybody else. You're square with the house. He was operating under a false identity. The identity that he was using was not his own. Right? He had stolen it from somebody else, presumably. Okay. And while I understand the desire to wring the neck of anybody who steals your identity, because I've been there, it's still not a capital crime. And it still does not justify killing a man. Okay? So far, there have been no capital offenses, just basically a general smear campaign on the man's integrity. Okay? And any regard for the law. Okay. Drug history, I'm not even going there because we have way too many addicts and alcoholics here to warrant that as anything other than just a vice. I can't with that. Was he being violent? Now we can get into that. Okay, so I'm trying to find articles, right, of, because this is important. And this is what nobody pays attention to. They're paying attention to the skirmish. What they're not paying attention to is what led to the damn thing in the first place. We paid a considerable amount of attention in the media when it came to Trayvon Martin. What led to the killing of Trayvon Martin? Who started it? I won't deny that both of them were assholes. I don't think that Trayvon Martin was the saint that everybody makes him out to be, but I really don't care if he was or not. Nor do I care if Zimmerman was particularly saintly. The question is, who made the first physical blow? Who was the one that made it physical? Who was the one that even threatened and said, okay, I'm going to kill you, and then started gesturing toward them rather than away from them? Who was the one? Simply engaging in a conversation is not enough to warrant instigation per se, except if it invokes violence. If it provokes or invokes violence, then we have issues, right? Which is our limitation on speech in the first place, right? The limits on free speech is that it can't be slander, and it cannot invoke violence or incite violence. And we do that because there's only so far we're going to allow free speech before it starts to infringe on other people's rights, and it becomes a direct corollary between free speech and somebody dying. Okay. So, and it's not about whether I agree with that, but that's the standing position on free speech. In any case, here we have it. So now, what brought the cops over to this man? What brought him over? Well, from what I could piece together, two things were happening that led to the cops being there and ultimately presenting themselves to this man. First was that they were investigating a robbery. The second is that the cops noticed two men fighting. There was some sort of physical altercation on the side of the road involving this man. Okay? My understanding is that there's video footage about 75 feet away from a homeless shelter that shows that once they saw the police coming, the two men dispersed. So, let's assume for a moment, and this is me being oh so generous with the benefit of the doubt, the cops were concerned that that two homeless men were fighting, and holding true to their peace officer nature, they simply were there to break it up for their safety. I'm going to assume that that's what they did. The best of intentions. I am projecting that on these cops because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Okay. If that were their intention, the man wouldn't have gotten killed, obviously. Right? So let's not go crazy. In any case, so this is their intention. They see this disruption and they want it to be peaceful, so they want to restore the order. They go and they approach, and as they're approaching, before the cops even get there, the two men disperse. One dives into their tent and the other one runs away or goes somewhere else. I can't see where, and it's not clear as to what happens to that man. But whatever it is, he's still alive. So he must have gotten away. So this guy, the guy who ultimately dies, the victim, he's in his tent. Cops continue to approach and finally get to him, and they want to question him. And they say he was uncooperative. Now, I know, the Fourth and Fifth Amendment are just really fucking annoying when it comes to the pursuit of justice. But, and again, it doesn't matter whether I believe in having a constitution or not. The point is that it exists, and that at the very least, the cops are held to that, or supposed to be held to that. Okay? But you're not legally required to give anything but your name unless they have probable cause. And even then, you don't have to give them your real name. You can give them your street name or whatever. They just need something to call you, right? That's all. So, so that's all he's legally required to give these cops unless he's under arrest. If he's under suspicion for committing a crime, then he's under arrest. He has a right to remain silent. He has a right to an attorney. Anything he says can and will be held against him in a court of law. His rights need to be read to him. He needs to be Mirandized, right? Otherwise, we're done here. We have no business here. So what happened? Was he under arrest? It doesn't say in any of the articles I've read. Now, if you have information, by all means, find me on Facebook and send it to me, because I would love to hear more about what led to this, okay? All I'm hearing is that homeless man reached for rookie's gun. Yada, 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 he did. Okay, that's been the report across the board from what I could see. And I looked at least the first top 20 articles on the damn thing. A lot of them were regurgitations of the same article from the AP and whatnot. But nonetheless, if something new has come up, by all means, I would appreciate it, because I would like to know and fill in the holes. But to my knowledge, he was uncooperative, which no one really defines what uncooperative is. But whatever it is, it led to them fighting. It led to several cops against one man, one unarmed man, getting into a physical altercation. You can say a lot of things. He might have very well been guilty. He could have been mentally ill. I have no idea. Since he was operating under a false identity, there really probably isn't much of a record on the man. But I'll tell you what. If I'm walking in a neighborhood and 4 grown-ass armed men, visibly armed men, come up to me and start interrogating me and start harassing me, I'm not thinking that this is something that's good for me. This is not going to end well for me. This is not something that's in my best interest. My survival instincts would kick in. Okay? Now, if those 4 men actually physically attacked me and I had access to one of their guns, you're telling me I shouldn't reach for that. I should go with it. I should cooperate with these men. That's a hard sell. That's a really hard sell. The only way you could get somebody to cooperate with them is under duress in the first place, which means somebody has a gun cocked at your temple. At which point you realize that fighting is futile if you want to live. Right? Now you got to make a life and death decision. Do you just die fighting, go out in the blaze of glory, or do you cooperate in hopes that you can get out of this thing alive? That's the question for any victim to decide, and there is no right or wrong answer in that, by the way. Okay, so this man is there's now video footage, okay? People are actually filming what's happening, and you can see that he's being attacked and pinned down and tased by these cops. In the throes of all of that, he is allegedly reaching for the rookie's gun. The rookie freaks out. He's going for my gun, he's going for my gun. 3 cops in solidarity take aim and shoot at the guy, and he dies. That doesn't stop them from handcuffing him, though. Because you never know. The zombie apocalypse, without warning, right? Just can ensue right then and there, starting from Skid Row. So they handcuff him because apparently they don't know how to check for a pulse. Now, my thing is that this is murder too. They shot to kill. You can't have a firing squad on one unarmed man and tell me that their intention was not to kill the motherfucker. That's insanity. just because I put you up against the wall and had 3 men firing their firearm at you, doesn't mean they were trying to kill you. Really? Was it just a lead tickle? Was that their intent? I mean, I'm really trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here. This is me really trying, okay? Okay, so he dies. And the police chief says something to the effect of, and I can go try and find it. I can go try and find the exact article and the words he used. But he's saying, you can tell that he reached for the gun, not because of the fingerprints. He makes no mention of fingerprints. You can tell he reached for the gun because of the way it ended up being the end position of the gun in the holster, and the fact that the safety was off. Like, no, you can tell he made for the gun if you see his fingerprints on the motherfucker. It's not like the guy's walking around with latex gloves. He has his bare hands, and he's fighting with his bare hands. If there's his fingerprints are all over that gun, that would indicate, in a position on that gun, that indicates that he actually tried to get the safety off the damn thing. Of course, it doesn't make sense that he would while it's holstered, but let's say he did. It's the heat of passion. You're in the middle of a physical altercation. Certainly, any number of things can happen, and I'm saying that's plausible, but that's not the only explanation. It was a rookie's fucking gun. You're telling me rookies don't fuck up? Let me tell you something about rookies in the hood, especially Los Angeles. Okay? Let me tell you how fucking stupid they are and how easily they are picked out of a crowd. This is not something I'm necessarily proud of, but it serves a purpose and a point. My dad explained to me when he was a rookie. He used to work for the LAPD. And he explained to me, maybe his first week on the job, he's going off with a senior officer. And he's basically just sitting there observing what he's doing. And an 8-year-old boy comes up to him and says, "You're a rookie, aren't you?" Yeah, that's what I mean. How would you know? Because your shoes are too shiny. I can see you from the glare. Walks off. A rookie doesn't even know how to fit his ass in. His posturing, everything about a rookie says, I'm brand fucking new and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Everything about a rookie. They lack confidence, or they're overconfident. They haven't found their place yet. They're not comfortable in the job yet. They're still breaking it in. And it doesn't matter what position, and it doesn't matter what occupation it is. You can tell who's a greenleaf on a fucking phone. Okay? They don't know how to handle themselves on the phone. Even in my industry, which is completely private sector, I can tell who's new and who's not. I can tell who knows what they're doing and who doesn't without ever seeing their fucking face. So, this guy, this rookie, always holsters his firearm properly, especially on this day. And he always has the safety on, right? Because he's a rookie. Rookies don't fuck up. They're really by the book. All of their habits are fully cultivated towards safety, right? I mean, this is a preposterous notion that the rookie would have. We assume that the rookie didn't fuck up, right? We assume this. So he gets the presumption of not only innocence, but perfection. And this man, who's dead, dies because he didn't cooperate in an interrogation. He wasn't even legally obliged to do that. I don't care who the fuck he is. It could have been Charles fucking Manson or Ted Bundy. I don't give a shit. at the end of the day, he's not obliged to say jack shit to the cops. And because he didn't, and because he resisted that, he's dead. What I'm seeing is, as I hear people justify this, I'm seeing people saying that it is a capital offense, whether you like it or not to cooperate with the cops. You can be right. You can exercise your right, but you'll be dead in the process. And we're going to be okay with that because we're going to come up with a bunch of shit on you, engage in a full-blown smear campaign about you, malign your dead character, and people will feel okay about it. All we need to know is that the guy was even remotely an asshole, and that's enough to justify killing him. But we're not going around killing illegal immigrants, nor should we. We're not going around killing people who have already served sentences for crimes from the past, nor should we. We're not going around killing people for these things because it's illegal. It's wrong. If you can go around killing people for these things, then cops should be going door to door doing just that, but they don't. But what happened is what happened with Michael Brown. It starts off as something totally fucking petty and small, like jaywalking, or getting into a street fight with somebody who has since gone away and the fight has since ceased. It starts with some bullshit. The cop injects himself, and if he was at all doing anything in the name of safety, he kind of threw that out the window when he killed the man. If you're there to preserve public safety and order, and the only way you know how to do it is to kill one of them, I think they would have been better off had you just rode on and didn't bother stopping. But the stuff that comes in after the fact is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. They didn't know who he was. And even knowing those things, it still doesn't warrant killing him. What I find to be absolutely ironic is that it's the conservatives who are justifying the killing. Yes, our friends in the pro-life movement all of a sudden became pro-death. That's amazing. Wow, life has value. Life has value. Not his, because he's a bad guy. He didn't respect the law. Oh, so life has values if. Also ironic is that the purported, the stated rhetorical claims of the conservatives is limited government. And yet here they are cheering for its overreach when violating the rights of the individual. It's not the elections that have paved the way for this shit. People voting or not voting. It's these little things here. Claiming that you're about limited government, but when the government actually strikes, you cheer it on. The government shouldn't be involved in XYZ. But I'm going to cheer its overreach over here. Right? Liberals, the government shouldn't be in my uterus. Okay. But, my body, my choice. Okay, but I do want people to have compulsory vaccination. That's okay. It's not your body, your choice when it comes to vaccination. It's only your body, your choice when it comes to abortion. So I'm going to cheer on the overreach of a government to force you to have vaccines, to get vaccinated, but I'm going to decry the government when it comes to them trying to tell me what to do with my uterus. Right? Conservatives. We don't need all this bureaucracy and shit. It's too bloated. It's too fucking big. We don't need all this government. But the military goes and occupies another country. That's okay. That's fine. You want to ride your tanks down the freaking streets of Fallujah and inoculate everybody with a healthy dose of freaking depleted uranium. That's aces. That's freedom, bitches. When cops over here are 9,000 fucking cops going in to look for one 19-year-old scared ass motherfucker in Watertown. That's okay. America. That's not an overstep. That's not big government. No, no, no. Amazing how we're so fair weather about where we want our big government. At the end of the day, I mean, at least the liberal doesn't claim to want limited government. They want all sorts of shit. They want handouts, they want taxes, they want to penalize people, they want all sorts of, they want revenge and shit through economics. They want all that shit. And they make no bones about it. The conservatives, though, claiming that they're pro-life and that they want limited government, and then go in defending the cops. Wait, the government, the same thing you said needed to be limited, is overstepping its bounds and violating an individual's rights, and you're too busy saying, well, he was justified in doing it. Rethink your platform, you fascists. Jesus. So these narratives that they're using to spin all of this were never known. One. And two, are still to this day irrelevant, even if they were known. The cops are killing people for not answering questions. That's not okay. That's not an enhanced interrogation method, much less one that's going to be effective, much less one that we should be accepting as common practice here in the United States. We don't question people at fucking gunpoint. But that's what we're doing. That's what we're justifying here. You cannot interrogate somebody at gunpoint and still call yourself a free country. Still the best there is. I haven't seen one better. Really? Because I don't think in Iceland they interrogate you at gunpoint. If that's the metric that I'm using for the better country compared to the US, then I think I can pull a few countries out of my ass right now that don't interrogate people on the streets at gunpoint. No matter what the fucking narrative is or isn't. But the narrative at the end of the day is still irrelevant. That's all I have. I'm tired. I'll catch you next week. Have a good one. Bye.